3, as they say, is the magic number. The rule of 3, for example, in some occult circles, states that whatever energy, be it positive or negative, that a person puts out into the world will be returned upon them threefold. From Aladdin's 3 wishes to 3 strikes you're out, to the witching hour starting at 3 a.m., 3 is woven into the daily fabric of our lives. 3, according to the lore, is also the number of times La Lechuza will whistle at you before she attacks. What's that? There are still those of you out there who haven't heard of the legend of La Lechuza. Well, sit a spell and let us enlighten you on the infamous and deadly Mexican witch bird. Welcome to Nightmares and Daydreams. Hello to all you amazing amongsters out there in the hinterlands. I'm Rock, along with my co-host Max, and just for a bit, we're going to be your guides as we introduce you to the legend of La Lechuza.
Don't sleep on this legend, gang. Down here in Texas, there are literally hundreds of sightings of these mysterious creatures.
No, I'm not sure I would call them creatures, Max.
Well, what would you call them then?
Monsters, maybe?
Monsters works.
Well, let's tell a quick story of a Lechuza encounter that happened in San Antonio pretty damn recently, and let's let the listeners decide for themselves.
San Antonio. Not that far from us here in Austin, and they almost have better breakfast tacos than we do.
Listen, Max, it's been decided, okay? They have better Mexican food, and we in Austin have better barbecue. Now let's get on to the story, shall we? Focus, my friend.
Lead on, good sir.
This happened to my cousin, and it involved my aunt. So the story was, for years, my cousin would wake up in the middle of the night and hear her mother speaking Spanish to someone in their kitchen. And this went down several times a week, like pretty frequently. My cousin said she'd ask her mom who she was talking to when she was younger. And her mother told her she was dreaming. But as the years went on, the occasional late-night conversations continued, and my cousin inquired again and again. And her mom told her it was none of her business and to stay in bed if she heard talking. It was adult business, she said. So years pass, and my cousin is in college by this time, and she's at home for the holidays. Now, this was right before the pandemic, so I'm thinking 2018 or 2019. Anyway, she just happens to hear her mom speaking Spanish in their kitchen around 3 a.m. again. And this time she decides to throw caution to the wind and find out what's going on. Well, she sneaks into the kitchen and sees her mom talking to this horrible half-owl, half-woman creature through the open kitchen window. She knew what this was immediately. Every Mexican kid in South Texas did. It was a Lechuza, a witch, a bruja, and her mom was talking to it. Now, as soon as my cousin saw the Lechuza, it saw her and let out this loud, horrible whistle before it flew away, the wings making loud flapping noises. She confronted her mom, who refused to speak of it, who told her she had imagined the whole thing. In fact, my aunt never said another word about it. Now, the funny thing is, this aunt, her mother, she was always whispered by the rest of the family to be a bruja herself. And the family stepped lightly around her, because it was said she would curse you, give you the ojo, or the evil eye, if you offended her. So this story, in my mind, confirmed that, yeah, I'm pretty sure my aunt was a witch.
Creepy. And that is the link, folks. La Lechuza is a shapeshifter.
And according to the lore, she's a bruja who sold her soul to the devil in exchange for dark powers.
Pretty standard stuff.
Well, as we explored in our Inferno Pax episode, selling your soul for cash, prizes, and power is, or was, pretty commonplace. It's the bruja's ability to shift into this apex predator of the night skies that kind of sets her apart.
I don't know if I'd call La Lechuza an apex predator.
Well, okay. So you're calling an upwards of 5 foot tall, this chimera of giant owl and woman who, according to some tales, has the ability to carry off a grown-ass man in her massive talons a pushover? You saying you like to run into this thing on one of your nightly jogs here in Austin?
Well, when you put it like that, our listeners will know that I'm a keyboard warrior rock. That's why I run in the morning before work, by the way.
All talk, baby, much like myself. So give the amongsters the stats on Lechuza, Max, like a laundry list of her reported powers and abilities.
Let me open up the old Dungeons & Dragons monster manual real quick.
Ain't no Lechuzas in D&D, Max.
But there are harpies. Kind of the same thing.
Yeah, not so much. Listen, are you going to do this?
Dang, all cracking the whip in front of MAU's awesome listeners. Okay, gang. Here are, according to the lore, some attributes of La Lechuza. Number 1, she can summon storms.
Which, can be helpful, like if you're a farmer or something.
Okay. Also, she can mimic a crying baby, or, according to some, even the voice of a loved one.
And that's a pretty common power amongst creatures of darkness, kind of drawing you out of the light and safety of that and into the night where they can grab you.
Well, we've already talked about this. If I'm out and about for a late night jog and I hear a baby crying.
Yeah, listen, if you hear a baby crying up in a tree, run faster, Max. That's all I got to say.
Best case scenario, it's like one of those con babies like in Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yup. And we know babies don't go climbing no trees at such a tender age. That's a dead giveaway. All right, Max, what else?
The hallmark of La Lechuza is her whistle, of course.
Mm-hmm.
That whistle, according to witnesses, once you hear it, you'll never forget it.
You're correct, man. And like we've talked about this before, I've relatives down in South Texas that claim they've heard it. And yeah, they agree, man, that it's unlike anything they've ever heard, like super chilling. And once you hear it, you never forget it.
So you said something about 3 whistles earlier.
Si, senor. So according to the lore, and this is one I heard many times growing up, if you're out and about after dark and you hear a whistle, do not whistle back. And yeah, you'll hear 2 more whistles if a Lechuza is around. And yeah, party people, don't whistle back on the second or third one either. Just don't do it.
So if you don't whistle back, you're safe?
Well, not necessarily, because in some stories she'll come after you regardless. Claw your eyes out, according to my abuela, my grandma.
Any ways to protect ourselves in case of such unwanted encounters? In case we don't have the +5 Holy Avenger or the Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch on hand.
Those are artifacts, man. But there are a myriad ways if the lore is to be believed. But gang, for much more on La Lechuza, hit up Max and myself at our own podcast, Nightmares and Daydreams.
We formally invite all of you amongsters to join us for all sorts of paranormal shenanigans.
From pop culture to movie reviews that no one wants to hear.
And while we're nerding out here in Austin, Texas, and loving us some Texas and Mexican legends, we also do go across the pond and visit plenty of myth and folklore from the other side of the world.
Banshees, Slavic lore, fairy abductions.
Golems, Rakshasas, Kitsune.
Black-eyed kids, skinwalkers, and La Llorona.
Tricksters of all kinds, Jinn.
Just to name a few, y'all.
You had to throw that y'all in there to let people know we're from Texas.
Well, we also love barbecue. That's another cliche Texas thing. Hey, Max, at least I didn't say fixin', like I'm fixin' to head over to the bookstore and get me some more ghost books.
Speaking of fixin', Rock and I are fixing to get out of here and bury our noses in more myth and legend in our attempts to keep our awesome listeners entertained during these trying times.
Max speaks true, gang, for once. So come on over and join us for some nightmares and daydreams at whatever podcatcher you listen to all your finer podcasts on.
Please do, folks. We'd love to have you.
Well, amongsters, as we are wont to say, be good to each other and...
Sweet dreams. Sweet dreams. Sweet dreams. Sweet dreams. Sweet dreams.